Lighted warriors doubt Sir Aldrich of Eldoria was the finest knight of the Divine Order. A warrior forged in the crucible of war, he had spent his life battling in the name of God. From the burning plains of Ashendel to the frozen fjords of Nordheim, he had struck down countless enemies, convinced that each victory was a holy triumph. But was it Aldrich and the light of truth had a way of carving questions into a man's soul? One evening, after a brutal siege against a heretic stronghold, Aldrich stood amidst the ruins, surrounded by the dead. Among them lay not only soldiers, but women and children, casualties of righteousness, or so he had been told. Yet, as he gazed upon their lifeless forms, something inside him twisted. "Does God desire this?" he whispered. He turned to his fellow knights, men who had stood by him in countless battles. They were celebrating, praising the Lord for another victory. But Aldrich felt no triumph, only unease. That night, sleep would not come. The prayers he had recited since childhood felt empty. He had spent his life wielding a sword in God's name, but had he ever truly known him? The journey to wisdom burdened by doubt, Aldrich sought counsel. He rode alone across the vast kingdom, leaving behind his titles and honors, until he arrived at the monastery of Saint Aurelian, nestled deep in the Vale of Solace. The monastery was a place of peace, its stone walls untouched by war. There were no banners of conquest, no songs of victory, only silence, punctuated by the gentle voices of monks in prayer. An aged monk, Brother Theodoric, greeted him at the gate. "What brings a warrior to a house of peace?" the monk asked. Aldrich removed his sword and placed it at the old man's feet. "I have fought for God, but I do not know him. I seek the truth," Theodoric smiled. "Then come inside, Sir Knight. But know this, truth is not found at the tip of a blade." Thus began Aldrich's true trial. Lessons of the spirit life in the monastery was unlike anything Aldrich had known. His hands, trained for war, now toiled in the fields. His body, accustomed to armor, now bent humbly in prayer. At first, he struggled. The stillness of the monastery unnerved him more than the chaos of battle. One afternoon, he grew restless and approached Theodoric. "How does a man serve God without a sword?" he asked. Theodoric led him to a great oak tree in the courtyard. "Tell me, Sir Knight, what makes this tree strong?" Aldrich frowned. "Its deep roots," Theodoric nodded. "And what makes a knight strong?" "His skill, his armor, his sword." Theodoric shook his head. "No, my son, a knight without wisdom is like a tree without roots. He may stand for a time, but when the storm comes, he will fall." Aldrich pondered these words, but he did not yet understand. The test of mercy months passed, and Aldrich changed. He read the sacred scriptures, cared for the sick, and tended the monastery's gardens. He saw suffering that no blade could cure, wounds of the soul that no war could heal. Then came the true test. One evening, a messenger arrived at the monastery, breathless and pale. "Bandits have attacked the village," he cried. Aldrich felt the old fire in his veins. He reached for his sword, but then hesitated. He had spent months learning patience, mercy, and wisdom. Was this battle truly the answer? Instead of charging in fury, he rode to the village with a different purpose. When he arrived, the raiders were still looting, terrorizing the helpless. But rather than strike them down, Aldrich stood before them, unarmored, his sword at his side. "Enough." His voice was calm, yet it carried the weight of command. The bandits laughed. One raised his dagger. Aldrich did not flinch. "You kill, you steal, you destroy," he said. "But does it fill the emptiness in your souls?" The leader hesitated. The bandits had expected a fight, not questions. Aldrich continued, "There is another path. Lay down your weapons, and you will know true strength." Some scoffed. Others wavered. A few, seeing the unwavering conviction in Aldrich's eyes, dropped their weapons. The rest fled. Aldrich exhaled, his heart pounding. He had won, not with steel, but with wisdom. The Holy Knight's revelation that night, Aldrich knelt in prayer. He had finally found his answer. God was not in conquest, nor in the clash of swords. He was in the kindness of a healer's touch, the wisdom of a teacher's words, the courage of a man who chose mercy over wrath. Aldrich still carried his sword, but he no longer lived by it. He became a protector, a peacemaker, and a beacon of true faith. And thus, the legend of Sir Aldrich the End spread far and wide, not as a knight who fought for God, but as one who truly understood him.